On air from Nashville, it's me, Ruth Rosen.
And on air from Seattle, it's me, Tim Tackett. Welcome to the Let It Be podcast. In today's episode, we sit down with Bianca DeAnda, a clinical psychologist in Southern California. In today's conversation, we discuss what it means to release pain, the pressure of traditional timelines, and how joy and grief can coexist. Have you ever asked, who am I? What is my identity? Does it match up with what you expected? Even though circumstances may change your plan, they don't get the final say in who you become. Good morning, Ruthie.
Good morning, Tim.
Is it really morning, though, where you are?
No, it's actually afternoon. So that's why I hesitated when I actually responded to your good morning. How's your day going so far?
Good. Just right in the throes of Olympic hockey. It's so exciting right now. We got obviously the game will be over by the time this show airs, but the U.S. versus Canada tomorrow.
I'm excited
really
to watch
excited.
it. And I'm really excited because a month from now, you're going to be in Nashville and we're going to go to a hockey game together.
That's
the
right.
Preds versus the Kraken.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight matchup.
Ooh, well, I'd like to believe that's the truth. Is it? You think it's going to be tight?
Yeah, I mean, in our division, everyone's like within a point of each other. I think the Preds are just a couple of points below us right now.
Well, I'm looking forward to a little wager with you. So be thinking about what you want to wager.
Oh, yeah. And it's not money.
But not so crazy that we actually can't accomplish it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Be thinking about it.
So we're about to jump into a conversation with Bianca, who you let me know is a longtime family friend.
Not just a longtime family friend, but it was one of Carla's best friends. And I think why I'm so excited, Tim, it's not just one of Carla's friends, but she's my friend. And it's taken 20 years for us to develop this relationship. I'm no longer just Carla's mom, and she's no longer just one of Carla's friends, that we are friends. And I look forward to you meeting her.
I think that's great. I love the post that you recently put up of Carla being interviewed. That is, she sounds
wasn't that
exactly
great?
as I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that I know we included what she had to say, some of her wise words in our last episode on choices as we launched our brand new Learned Wisdom. But I decided that why not show a little clip of her? And so we recently did that, and just the comments of people saying, oh, I haven't heard her voice in so long. And like you said, it was exactly how I remembered. But I even noticed, Tim, that her brother, Cole, one of her brothers, reposted it. So
Yeah.
very, very touching. So thank
Awesome.
you to everybody for all those incredible, encouraging messages.
I'm sure it meant a lot to everyone who got to watch it. I bet. I mean, I know I just stopped what I was doing, and it was like everything around me just kind of stopped as I watched the video. It was really cool. And I'm excited for today's topic because I think everybody can relate to, like, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what I thought when I was a kid. I didn't think I'm going to be living in Seattle, Washington and working at a grocery store. It's not what I envisioned my life being, but I love my life.
When we take a vacation or we do something, plan a trip or what have you, we can plan it out and our expectations meet what we planned. But when we're talking about life, expectations, meeting it, that's a whole other conversation. So, so we have some guests coming up, and they're going to talk about different words. So same learned wisdom, but it's 3 different perspectives, 3 different takes on the learned wisdom. So today, Bianca's talking about circumstances. We have taken, and we also have control.
That's right. Yep. You and I sat down and we talked a little bit on the last episode to get things rolling. So if you guys haven't heard that yet, please go back and listen once you're done with this one today. And it looks like she's waiting in the studio. We got to let her in. So.
Okay, Tim, behave yourself.
Let's
I
go
really
ahead and
love
let her in.
Bianca.
Let's dive in. Bianca, Bianca DeAnda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, you're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
I love when we can get just such a variety of people on our show and just so many different perspectives. And I know today's going to be great. Today's going to be great.
Special.
So you are a longtime family friend of the, I'll say, Ash Rosens, and you were one of Carla's best friends.
I was,
I think
yes.
is really going to open up a lot today. You are a clinical psychologist. You live in Southern California, and you stated you were passionate about honest conversations. And as a clinical psychologist, I can only imagine what you have heard and the conversations that you have had. You today are going to offer, and thank you, a vulnerable perspective on grief and conflicting feelings, identity, and share some of your own current circumstances right now. Thank you. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And thank you for joining us and sharing how you've been navigating what you call life's in-between seasons. And Ruthie and I opened that up a little bit. I like that term, in-between seasons. I haven't heard that. So we'll get into that. And you also stated that you believe growth happens in the quiet, unglamorous moments, which, yes, we have those unglamorous moments that we don't like to share, which you are going to do today. And so the last bit where we learn to trust our inner voice and release the pressure of traditional roles, which every listener, I think, can relate to. Traditional roles and thoughts about how you're going to grow up, and they don't all happen. Life just kind of takes us in a little bit of a different direction. I know you get into the gym, which you were there earlier today. That's why we're a little bit late on our recording. And I got to tell you, I'm jealous. I have not gotten to the gym today. But what else? A little bit of personal, professional background about you.
Welcome, Bianca.
Thank you. So I really enjoy going to Pilates. That has been, a big thing in my life the past couple years. And I would say that's, has kind of taken up a good amount of like my mental space and self-care and whatnot. But aside from that, I feel that I am a big relational person. I very much value my relationships with my family, my friends, and yeah.
Well, you certainly have inspired me, Bianca, because I have just completed my 3rd Pilates class.
Have you?
Yes. Well, I'm not nearly as flexible as I see in you, but yes. So thank you for inspiring me.
I love that. Pilates is just so great for, it's low impact. I feel that it's something that you could do multiple times a week and not get so burnt out as in other HIIT workouts or more
so
intense
I can't just
workouts.
Do once a week. So once a week is not going to help.
Once a week is going to be perfect for you.
I mean, just doing it at all, right? I mean, I think that's the thing about exercising is just do it. Just do something.
We have Bianca and we have Dr. B. So I am excited to talk with Bianca first before we get to Dr. B. But I'm just, another excitement is that you actually get to meet my brother this time and he gets to hear your voice. So Tim, meet Bianca. The video that popped up.
Oh, I love that.
So
you guys were having a blast.
So Bianca came to visit me in Nashville. And, well, she had never tasted whiskey straight before. So I said, well, let's drink some whiskey. And we tasted whiskey. We had a great time. And, well, like girls, we were in our PJs. We were just relaxed. And she and I started talking. And I said, Tim and I are starting to record now. Let's go in the studio and record a conversation.
She hooked you.
And we
Mind you, this is at
there,
midnight.
Yeah.
And we might have been into the whiskey and bourbon. And we had the best conversation, didn't we, Bianca?
We did.
The only problem is I forgot to put the sound in. So, and then I didn't know how to get it off the platform. So when I met with Tim, he's like, oh my gosh, there's this video, you two, who is this and what were you doing? But anyway, so I'm just so glad we have actually sound this time.
We have
So,
sound.
Yeah.
yeah.
It is good to meet you in this
It's so nice
venue.
to meet you too.
You know, I know you as Carla's best friend, and you know, it's been 20 years since we last got to see her and speak to her. And you're actually in Ruthie's book, and in chapter 16 there's a picture of you. Which so yeah, to get to know you differently, I'm excited, and hopefully we can meet in Tennessee and drink some whiskey together, but that's
Absolutely
moving too far forward.
I don't know if Bianca will want to come back. I'll save that story for later. You love Nashville?
Oh,
I very
gosh.
much did love Nashville.
It's fun. Yeah, there's a lot to do. So you grew up with Carla. You had this awesome relationship with her, my niece. And so I just want to say on a personal level, what I'm most excited about is to gain a little bit more of Carla from talking to you today. So I just want to thank you for opening up and
Thank you.
being I'm curious, just to kind of start us off, what would you be willing to tell us what Carla meant to you at that age?
Yeah, I could say so much. But Carla, so I met Carla in 5th grade. We were on the same soccer team, and her stepdad, Michael, was our coach. And so I met her in 5th grade, and then, continued to be friends since 5th grade, and really got close her last year of life. So I'm just so grateful that I was able to share such a close relationship with her at that time. I feel that we got even closer following her diagnosis. But she just meant so much to me. She was such a fun and vibrant and silly friend. And there was such a just lightheartedness to her and such an ease. And I think that's, when I think of her, that's still the same feelings that I have about her.
Yeah, that's good.
Very special.
So right now, there's a trend going on, Bianca, on Instagram. I haven't done it. Have you done it where you share pictures back from 2016?
I did. I did.
You did? I'm going to have to go look at that.
I posted a photo. I think it was on my story, but I was showing, I had blonde, very short hair at the time. And so
is it really a trend?
A little shout out to my hairstylist.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's a very big trend.
Wow.
Yeah. So sticking with the trend, except for not with pictures, but with memories. I want to take us back to 2016. I remember it very well. It was 10 years. We're at Carla's 20 year now into heaven, but going back to when it was just 10 years. And I remember one of her beautiful, awesome friends, and her name was Bianca. And Bianca began texting me, asking me what I was going to do on Carla's 10th anniversary to heaven. And I said, I don't know. And then the next day, the next night, I would just keep getting, it was like you were stuck between stalking and just, you would not let up everywhere.
I was persistent.
You were very persistent. And
that shows the importance. It really does show, even 10 years later.
And even to this day, 20 years later, I never plan what I'm going to do on February 5th. I just let whatever happens, let my emotions, where am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to feel? And so I couldn't commit to you. That's what it was, but I didn't want to share that with you. And so that morning I said, okay, let's get together. I'm going to go to the cemetery. And it was like you were there waiting for me to text because you showed up for me getting my hair done. Okay, I'm here.
I should have at the hair salon. At the hair salon.
Did. I remember it with Chloe. And so we went to the cemetery. And all along I was thinking, you needed to be there for me, and I was kind of feeling like, well, I don't need anybody right
Mhm.
now. But what happened was you were needing it. Do you remember that
Mhm.
day?
Mhm.
Why don't you
Mhm.
step in?
Yeah. So that day, I think, and with grief, I think that, it kind of is an ebb and flow of, um, I don't know if other anniversaries were necessarily harder for me or easier for me, but I do remember the 10-year anniversary feeling significant in that way. And I think that, losing a best friend at 15 and then 10 years later, I'm 25, going to be turning 26. You just start thinking of everything post that you've experienced without this friend. And I think time just kind of like creeped up on me. Like the 10
Mhm.
years creeped up on me. I'm like, since then, I have graduated high school. I've been in a relationship. I've fallen in love. I've graduated college. Like, so you've experienced this life without this person. And I think the 10-year mark was just that for me, that I was like, wow, this is how has 10 years already gone
Mhm.
by? But yeah, I still feel there's such a void. There's still such a persistent loss. So, yeah, I really wanted to spend the day with you. And initially, I think I was like, okay, let me make sure she's okay. Let me make sure that, she has support. But I think as the day went on, it was so evident that it was very much me who like
Yeah.
needed that support and that connection to her in that way.
And when I laugh right now, I'm laughing with joy in my heart
Hmm.
because you're right. I think that was a pivoting point in our relationship.
Hmm.
Also, as we move forward now, 10 years later, but going back to that moment, what I do want to share, Tim, and I don't know if you know this, but Bianca was there late at night and she painted Carla's toes bright pink, her and Adriana.
Yeah.
And it was Bianca that day sharing that what was happening was she was beginning to forget what her friends sounded like, forgetting little things. As her life was moving on, she was forgetting the things that meant so much to her. And in order for her to keep remembering Carla the way she wanted to, she was holding on to that pain of letting one of her best friends go. And it was that day that we talked about. I think there's a pretty popular saying, if you love something, set it free. And if it comes back, it's yours. And if it doesn't, it never was. It was like you needed permission to let her go. And
Hmm.
I reminded you, it's okay, let her go. She'll still go with you. She'll still grow with you. She'll be wherever you want her to be. But what I also realized that day is that you gave me an insight to maybe how my own children were feeling because they were not able to articulate that they were holding on to pain through the letting go process. That's how they remembered their sister. And
Hmm.
so I thank you for allowing me to be a part of your letting go process and and being able to help me and look at what you're doing today. And Tim, what I don't know if I also told you that when Bianca, which we're going to get into talking about where Bianca is today, but for her dissertation, she dedicated it to the Rosen family. And that was pretty special. Um,
Hmm.
I did read that.
beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
you give a lot of credit to that.
Thank you, Ruth. Yeah, I think that was just again another. I do think it was such a pivotal time, and going back to our relationship, I do think that that was it. Very much was a significant memory that I feel was impactful for both of us.
Mm.
So I'm glad we
Thank
got to
you.
share that together.
Thank you.
How did
Mhm.
you how did you come to understand, like, was it that moment or were there other moments that you identified, like, releasing pain doesn't mean letting go of Carla?
Mhm. yeah, I think there's been moments since then, but I think that was probably one of my early, experiences of that, of hanging on to pain doesn't like, I felt that I had to hang on to the pain to hang on to her, like, or that the pain validated my loss in a way. And I couldn't let go of the pain because then in some way it may not validate how big of a loss this was. Almost in a way of like, well, if I'm still feeling this pain, then that just shows how important this person really is to me. And if somehow I'm able to, you know, get through the pain, then I didn't want to feel like I was in some way not honoring how much she actually meant to me. I don't know if that makes sense, but that was
Absolutely, it
100%.
makes sense. 100.
I think
I think a lot of us can understand what you just said because that's our badge we wear that we put on, or that's that guilt, as we talked on a previous episode with Pastor Scott Hyder, is carrying that guilt. Is it something that we're doing to ourselves, or
that self-condemnation.
That's right.
yeah.
Let me.
And so I do think. Oh, sorry.
No, keep going, please.
So I do think that was an experience of me recognizing that holding on to pain doesn't always need to be present to still honor and still love and appreciate someone, and whether that has to do with loss or even, other life experiences I've had since then. But I do think, being in my losing somebody as a teenager who's also the same age as you, that in itself, I think, at the time, I don't think I had the words for it, but I think, here I am 15 years old and I'm like, somebody else who's also 15 years old no longer is here. And I think that was an early experience of like even my own mortality, or this isn't following the natural life cycle. Like this is, and having to grapple with that. And then now being in my 20s and then feeling a sense of guilt of like, here I am having experienced all these things that she never got to. And yeah, and then in some way just struggling with like, how do I let this go without it feeling like I'm not honoring this person in that way?
And up until this point, this 10 years, you and I, we had a good relationship, but we didn't have a close relationship. We would see each other. Every time we saw each other, we would start crying.
Yeah.
I was still the mom figure and you're still the child figure. That conversation you and I had together at the 10-year point has led us to our current relationship. And just the ability to connect with one another at a different level, a friendship level. Yeah.
Well, and I'll say that video of you two, like it's clear you're connecting in a way that is, you were laughing and leaning in, and it's clear you guys have a great relationship.
Oh yeah, Bianca likes to have fun.
So, if
so does Ruth.
Rebel, yeah. So speaking of the book again, just kind of going back to that, digressing. Ruthie, would you mind reading the learned wisdom? I know we've talked a little bit about it already, but can you read that passage from the book?
Absolutely. Just because a circumstance beyond your control has taken away some of your choices, it doesn't mean it's taken away all of your choices. So when I read that, Bianca, what does this mean to you in your current circumstances?
I think it brings up a lot. I think life is a series of choices, and reflecting on, I do a lot of self-reflecting and kind of reflecting on my life, let's say, my life 20 years ago, or my life 10 years ago, or my life 5 years ago. I think that there has been a series of choices, but more so specifically, I think the past 5 years of my life, I'm 35. So in the past 5 years of my 30s, I think really there's been a lot of choice in my current season, and um, perhaps not always choosing my circumstances, but definitely adapting and making choices based on those circumstances. Let's go back to 2019, so a little over 5 years ago.
Mhm.
I had just graduated with my doctorate in clinical psychology. I was in a long-term relationship, was just engaged that same year as well. So I just remember that year feeling like, how can life possibly get any better? I was just over the moon, so elated. I feel like there was so much hope in 2019 of like, I was had just finished this 5-year grad program, was finally taking the next step in my relationship. And I just remember feeling like it could only get better from here. Like, this is already so great. And I can't imagine for what's to come. And, 2020 was a rude awakening. And, 2020 then led to a really hard couple of years after that. And so, in 2021, my then fiance, we decided to end our engagement. And, there was a lot of difficulties in that at the end of that relationship, and some substance abuse, and a lot of things that just made it very difficult to move forward at that time. And so 2021 was a very pivotal year for me. I feel like there's certain years that just stand out,
Mhm.
and that year specifically was, um, that changed, I feel like, the trajectory of my life and who I am today, and decided to end that relationship. And then, I had just graduated. I was like a fresh grad and trying to figure out my career and what kind of space I wanted to be in and what community I wanted to serve. And I just remember feeling so lost in 2021 of
Hmm.
like my entire world just crumbled. Like the rug was pulled under me. Went from building my dream home with this person that I was so in love with to then having a moment of realization of like, where am I going? What am I doing with my life? And I went and lived with my best friend at that time, her and her husband, and I lived there with them for a year and a half, and allowed myself to really heal and explore what grief looks like at 30 years old. And so
Again.
since yeah, again, and it looks differently. A loss, I think loss is loss, and I
Mhm.
think grief could present very differently. But in your 30s, I do think that presented itself in a way that I just wasn't expecting or anticipating. And so, um, yeah, really surrounding myself with a lot of love and support was so vital at that time, and picking myself back up and trying to find meaning in pain and find meaning in circumstances, and making pretty intentional choices of what's my life going to look like post this relationship and who do I want to be. And so, yeah, I think that I've made pretty intentional choices on my own healing, and really kind of coming into who I am now as a 35-year-old woman. I feel like who I was, it's like pre
Mhm.
this relationship ending and post this relationship ending. I think I I feel that I'm a different person in in good ways. But that's been a really big life change and shift.
Do you have a relationship with God or consider yourself a religious woman?
I do have a relationship with God. I don't know if I would consider myself religious. I think that I struggle with that. Um,
Mhm.
but I definitely have a relationship with God. And, in these difficult moments in life, losing Carla, this relationship, navigating the past 5 years, I do feel like my relationship with God is strongest in those times. And I hate saying that because I feel like the times that I really have struggled the most is when I've like seeked God the most.
Mhm.
And maybe when everything's like flying by, I'm not seeking that connection as much. And so I don't like the fact that my relationship feels wishy-washy, perhaps based on my circumstances. But yeah, I do have a relationship with God, and that's something that I feel in the past 5 years has really actually helped me a lot.
Do you
Well,
think
I
that
think
sorry, Ruthie?
go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
I
Sorry.
was just gonna say, hearing about the loss in 2016 or the loss 20 years ago, moving
Mhm,
through kind of the pain 10 years later, and then your relationship going a different direction than you thought. Do you think that the pain that you felt and released with Carla helped you kind of realize how to move through the pain of 2019 or 2020,
mhm.
2021?
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think that although they're different, I think going through grief and even feeling comfortable talking about grief or
Mm,
talking about really difficult feelings.
yeah,
Again, at 15, I don't know if I had the exact language for it. And I do think that that was a shared loss. It was like my community was grieving, my friends were grieving. So that made it easier to talk about.
Mhm.
I think, what I experienced in 2021 felt isolating in the sense that nobody else was going through this like significant um,
yeah,
end of a relationship, life change, moving, really trying to figure things out. So that in itself felt isolating. But I think because of the experience that I had of already kind of feeling somewhat comfortable, at least expressing my feelings and emotions, I think that that helped me be more open at that time to kind of share with others what I was going through.
yeah,
Mm. And going back
Mhm,
to what you said, relationship versus religious, I want to say something
mhm,
that when I asked you that question, you said, but I wouldn't consider myself religious, but I do have a relationship.
mhm,
That's the best answer you could have given because religion is just words and knowledge. And um, you're the fact that you say, but I do have a relationship and that you're wishy washy at times. Well, isn't that kind of what a relationship's all about? Is being your vulnerable self and not being afraid to say, hey, I'm not doing so good or I'm down and I
oh,
never call on you. Yeah.
it's me
But it's
again.
been, yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I know.
I'm
That's
I'm
great.
curious too. I really want to know, like, so we talked to Pastor Scott, and he talks a lot about in these moments, you struggle with your identity and really
Mhm,
finding what your identity is, and I can hear that in you as you're going through those
mhm,
years of a relationship. Like your identity is like, I'm in a relationship. Things are so awesome; they couldn't get any better. To, oh my God, things are falling apart. What is happening? To, oh my gosh, I'm in my early 30s. What am I doing? How how did
mhm,
you find your identity? And, was there a moment or like something you're proud of? How did you find out who you were?
mm. That's a good question. Yeah. I I think my view on identity has also changed um, through this experience. I think that I have learned to see myself outside of partnership and what does that look like. And while I think that there's still certain roles that I have desires for, and I do want to share my life with somebody. I do want to eventually one day get married and maybe one day be a mother. When it comes to identity, I really have had to look within on who am I outside of these traditional roles that society places so much value on. And unfortunately, I feel doesn't place as much value on, let's say, the single woman and, or the unmarried or the, without child woman.
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot of pressure and value placed on certain identities. So I think something that I've had to really do is, and this is through therapy and through my own, kind of just like self work of exploring who am I outside of partnership and who am I outside of what somebody would traditionally see as an accomplishment or um, being ahead in life. I think that there's been a lot of questions of like, am I behind? Even though even though this has been a choice, like I'm single by choice and could have gone a very different path and have since dated and could have gone other paths as well. But it has been a conscious choice to be single because I am so sure of who I am outside of partnership, if that makes sense. Like because
Totally.
because I am so sure of myself outside of partnership, it almost has kept me single in a way.
Well, that's the question I have right now as I'm listening. And okay, so when we introduced you, we discussed conflicting feelings.
Mhm. Yes.
You say also what society says you should be doing at 35 years old. Was it just society, or did Bianca have that set for
Mm.
herself? And then you had to succumb to your own feelings inside of the conflicting feelings, but
Mhm.
this is not what I want right now. So you chose your current circumstances,
Mhm.
but do you think you also chose your before circumstances for
Mm.
yourself and then you're overcoming what you re-chose again?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of unlearning too. So, yes.
Unlearning.
Yes.
Hmm.
So, I think that aside from society, these are things that I do want for myself and desires that I do have for myself. And whether that's being influenced by society or culturally, it's hard to decipher. Like,
Yes.
but they feel very real to me. But I think that overcoming, like, how do I not let my desires cloud my judgment, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
could have these desires for myself. There could be these rules that I want to step into, but how do I still have the discernment to not let my desires cloud my judgment? And I think that was the place that I was in of like, I want all these things in paper. This all, I'm following the trajectory of like, I finished
Mm-hmm.
school, I graduated, I'm following a certain timeline of milestones that I saw for myself.
Yes.
And how do I not let what I want so badly um perhaps impact my judgment on a decision
Mm-hmm.
that really
Mm-hmm.
would have such a significant impact either towards or either for or away. So yeah, I think that was something that I really had to struggle with um and ask myself.
And I think one of the other struggles that me and you have discussed
Hmm.
openly, because I think we could relate to it with one another, but in different
Hmm.
circumstances, where I watch your group, Carla's group of
Hmm.
moms and wives now, and I never get that, but how do I allow the circumstance that I live in not to cloud my joy for other people?
Hmm.
And that too is something that you struggle with, but in a
Hmm.
different what, right? Because they're having babies, going to showers, all of this is going on, and you are so happy for them, but still there are feelings inside. What does that feel like to you?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that you could experience joy and grief at the same time. I I very much believe that they coexist or can coexist. And, I've been to every engagement party, every wedding, every bridal shower, every bachelorette party, every baby shower, every kid's first birthday, second, I've been there for all these celebrations and I'm so happy to be there. And in that moment, I do feel like I'm very present and it's a genuine joy that I experience. But I think something that's not talked about or even shared probably is the loneliness that creeps in, when you're leaving these celebrations, perhaps, or when you sit with the idea of like, well, how am I being celebrated? There's these milestones that are being celebrated and they should be celebrated. But I think when you're not in this season, you could feel forgotten in a way. And so I think kind of navigating those feelings and instead of feeling shame for the feelings, just being able to name it. I think like once I've been able to just name what's coming up for me, like this, I am disappointed, or even hard feelings like envy or jealousy or grief. Like these are hard things to identify within yourself. And I think once you're able to just call it and say it, you release the shame and the guilt that comes from having
Man, this is great. There's such a common theme that we hear about naming it, capturing it. In your emotional intelligence right now is high, and it's so cool to hear you say like you capture it and you sit with it. And one thing that I relate to with you is like you're talking about like going to the weddings or showers. And when I was younger, I also, like you, was like, we've got these milestones in our life. You go to college, you get married, you have a kid. And I'm watching people in my life, like my friends, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, now they bought a house. Okay, now I'm going to buy a house. And like they have a kid. But the older I grew, the more things were different. Like I have a friend who has since been divorced, and his kids now are in college, and one is an actor, and it's like, I didn't have kids. It's too late to have kids. Well, but, trying to have that inner struggle, and it goes on forever. I feel, I mean, I'm 47, Ruth is 58, and
Something.
we're all having these kind of
Yeah.
inner struggles and of like, what am I feeling right now?
Yeah, but I
Do you
think being able to even name that or even have that curiosity within yourself, I think there's a lot of people that go through life afraid to let themselves have these thoughts or to allow themselves to have these feelings because they are hard feelings to sit with. But I think what you don't have to necessarily share them. This could be your own self-reflection or journaling or a conversation with God, or it could look differently. But I think something that has been really helpful for me is sharing them with the close people around me and being able to say like, yeah, this sucks. Like, this is not a good feeling. This doesn't feel the best. Like that going to this wedding, did bring up a lot of things. And even just being able to be open in that way, I think not only allows deep connection, but I think it also again, like going back to just like releasing guilt and releasing shame, I think it's allowed me to release those feelings with it of like, I don't have to feel bad about having co-occurring feelings like that. One is joy, but another could be also grief.
Yeah. Honestly, too, I've gone to weddings too where I'm like, wow, I'm really grateful I didn't make that decision.
Oh, for sure.
Bianca.
So there can be gratitude as well.
Oh, well, you too. So I think what's really great about this conversation right now, and I truly appreciate you being authentically yourself, Bianca, and not being afraid to say that you have those feelings of what'd you say, jealousy, envy, um,
Mhm.
but it's still joy, but there's still feelings that you're feeling going into it.
Mhm.
Um, when you get that invitation, do you feel that at all? Do you ever allow yourself to pre-feel it, get it out of the way, or does it come to you at a different time?
Mm. I
That
think
makes
both have
sense?
happened. Yeah, I think both have happened. I think, it kind of has to also do with like, yeah, maybe how tender am I already feeling that day or how, so I think it has happened where, even an invite could be triggering or
Mm.
going on social media and seeing a pregnancy announcement or going on social media and seeing that, somebody got engaged or, again, these milestones that again are such joyous and should be celebrated. But when you're not in that season or there again, this in between season that I'm in, it's it can be triggering. So it comes up. I think it's not a blueprint of when it comes up. It has come up in other random ways too.
Well, and I think what I just want to encourage you, Bianca, is that you made a choice, and
Hmm.
God gives us all the freedom to make choices, all the choices we want to make. And sometimes we make bad choices that lead us to our circumstances, and then we
Hmm.
still have to sit with them because we made
Hmm.
it, no feeling sorry for ourselves. We chose it, right?
Hmm.
You made a choice of self-love. You made a choice. This is not what I want for me.
Hmm.
So now you're sitting in your choice and your circumstances because you chose it. So the
Hmm.
fact that you are able to, instead of pushing it away or living this crazy life, well, you lead a little crazy life too, which is awesome. You have a fun balance. As Miles says, which I keep on my note, have a good time all the time. But I do have a question.
Mm.
Do you think that because your psychology background and your profession, do you begin to build your own fear wall higher?
Hmm.
Do you feel that you are building more and more layers to your next circumstance? Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Yeah, I think initially, yes, but I think that that's something I've been really working through. I think initially, when you go through an experience like that, I left very guarded and not wanting to, I'm an open person, and so it's not necessarily open up because I do think I am somebody who does share, and I said earlier, like I find a lot of meaning in connection, but there was always a wall of like you might feel like we're close, but like there's still this protective layer of
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not letting you all the way in. And I think that since then I really have explored what that means to me and in ways that I think
Great.
it served a purpose to keep me
Mm-hmm.
protected and at that time I think that was needed. But I think now I really have worked really hard to challenge that and to lean into really having an open, honest, vulnerable, romantic relationship. But yeah, that's definitely something that, has come up. And I think with being a psychologist, I'm so aware of my own thoughts and my own
Yeah.
patterns,
I think
good
that's
or
what I was
bad.
trying to get
Hmm.
at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for better or worse, like I'm so aware of my own stuff. And I think maybe something that I do find challenging is as somebody who is so self-reflective, finding somebody who has also done that same amount of work on themselves. I think that is a challenge of, you can only meet people as what's the quote? You can only meet people as deep as they're willing to meet themselves. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but I have been willing to meet myself in a very deep, raw way. And because of that, I would love to find a partner who has also been able to meet themselves in that way as well. So that's maybe more of a challenge that I experience.
And I didn't expect to ask you this, but it's been a long time since I've been in the dating world. Been married for 28 years. Dating is tough these days, I hear.
It is.
How does a working professional like you has a great relationship with friends and family and your profession? How do you meet people?
So, there's the dating apps. Not a huge fan of the dating apps, but I am on the dating apps.
Well, I just had a great dinner with a friend who met somebody on a dating app, and they're just over the moon together.
Yeah, so I'm not above the dating apps by any means. Would I love to meet somebody organically? I would absolutely prefer that. But I think something that I struggle with is I very much value my alone time. I am busy with my career. I do prioritize these other relationships. And so I may not always have maybe not even the time. It's not that I don't have the time, but I may not always have, I guess, the opportunity to perhaps meet somebody in person in these capacities. Because if I am out and about, I'm usually being present with whoever I'm with. I'm not necessarily like in a space of like, oh, let me see who's around, or let me chit chat, or I'm usually like engaged with who I am in that, who I'm out with in that moment. And so I do find it challenging. I think dating in 2026 is challenging in its own. And this meeting people organically could feel challenging as well. So, yeah, right now it's just, maybe the dating apps, maybe it is somebody that I've met when I have been out, maybe it is a friend of a friend, but it's definitely tough.
I mean, I'm going to kind of change the subject a little bit. But I'm curious, in your profession, um, there's probably people that you recognize going through the same grief that you've gone through. Very relatable. And probably, I know in my profession, when I have the chance to coach someone or sit with someone and help them, and they don't get it, how you kind of work through that of like, gosh, if you like, are you taking the stance of like, if you would just listen to me and my experience and how I did it, or does your help present itself differently? Because
That's a great
that's a
question.
struggle, I think.
Yeah. And I think, more important, before I'm a psychologist, I'm a human. And so I think that
I knew
I'm
I
able
loved you.
to, I think I'm just able to sit there and be like, if only she knew, like I have that internal feeling of just like, if only she knew that, I very much can relate in these ways. And I think everybody has different approaches, in their clinical work. I am somebody that I'm, like I said, I'm a relational person. Like if I feel it's appropriate, I will share, I do share some of my life or some of my experiences, but not in a way of like learn from me, because I feel that everyone has to go through their own experiences. And, somebody could have told me years ago, like, hey, maybe this relationship wasn't the best fit, or maybe there is these early signs that, and I would not have listened. I just feel like I'm somebody that's like, okay, thank you, but like I have to get there on my own. And
I think that's a common, definitely, at least with the three of us right here.
Don't tell me.
Yeah, I have to get to that decision on my own. I have to get to that, because you could also make a decision and not be sure of it. And I think that you have to get to that. The other part of decision making is being confident, or at least having some type of faith of like, okay, it still doesn't feel the best, but just because it doesn't feel the best doesn't mean that it's not the best decision for you. And so I don't take on the approach of like, I try not to be advice giving. I try to lean more towards like trying to get them to be self-reflective and perhaps connect their own patterns or connect their own you know, thoughts or like be able to tie thoughts to feelings. And so that's more my approach. And even though I'm able to see it and I'm able to be like, yeah, this is probably not, internally, I'm like, this probably isn't going to work out, or they'll eventually, I trust that hopefully they will eventually get to that place
Mhm.
in their own timeline of when,
I love it.
maybe they'll get there on their own.
That's helpful. Yeah, that's a super great approach, and I'm sure you're great at your job. Anyone who can sit down and talk to you is lucky.
Thank you.
For somebody who's sitting there right now, no matter their circumstances, and it could look very different than single and no kids. But what is something you could share, your learned wisdom,
Mhm.
Bianca, that could just make a pivotal turning point for them? What would that be?
Mm. I think to really explore who you are outside of a season, outside of a role, outside of the way that you see your identity, but really to look within and try to just be able to sit with yourself and like yourself is something that find things that you like about yourself. And I think that that helps you get through a lot of things in life. And if you're
Mm.
able to actually, again, whether you could be married or you could be you could be in a relationship, single, it doesn't matter. I think being able to really sit with yourself and actually enjoy the person that you're sitting with is so important. And I would say that, we all go through different seasons, and just being able to understand that even good times don't always last, bad times don't always last, and just really
Mhm.
try to be present and lean into gratitude. I think gratitude has been so big for me of any time that I feel like I'm having difficult emotions, gratitude is the quickest way for me to get out of that headspace. And
Mm.
so just try to, whatever season you're in, and just really try to lean into who you are as a person and try to find and practice gratitude outside of that.
How do you express gratitude?
Mm. I I will just express it to people in my life. Whether it's people or things, or whether it's my own self, like I speak it into existence. I have such a loving and supportive family and such great friends, and I will express my gratitude to them often. And or I will express gratitude to my body, like, you got to get up and move today. You committed to
Mm.
you said you were going to do this workout and you committed to doing it. Or you even gratitude on letting myself experience difficult emotions. Like, you have the courage to sit with these heavy emotions, and or whether you have the courage to start over. You're not just starting over, you're also starting from a new identity. And so I think just really trying to find gratitude in any way I can. So,
Mm.
to me, that
That's
looks like verbally expressing it, or even like keeping that
Mhm.
within myself, of like just having even a moment of, it could be quiet gratitude. It doesn't necessarily have to be shared out loud, but yeah, but I would say expressing it has been something that has verbally expressing it has been something that I think is really important to me.
I think that's incredible learned wisdom. Sounds so easy as you're saying it, but I know
Hmm.
it's also very difficult, and that's what you shared today. And um, speaking of today, share with us what Dr. B is doing now.
Yeah. So I now work with college students. So I very much have kind of took a pivot in my career. I previously primarily worked with children and teens and was in community mental health. And in, you know, 2022-ish, I was like feeling just so burnt out, obviously with life experiences and whatnot, that I really needed a change. And so I have since I'm working in college, like at a college, and I work with college students specifically in crisis intervention. And so I work with like a lot of higher need students who are experiencing, severe depression or severe anxiety and suicidal ideation. So yeah, it's definitely taken a turn, but I love this population, this like 18 to 24 age I feel that it's been so nice and so refreshing. So that's what I'm up to now. And yeah, I think that it's also allowed me in a way to connect to my 20-year-old self.
I was just thinking, I was just sitting here. I had goosebumps all over just seeing that I get to 20 years later witness somebody close to my heart that went through pain, and yet you're able to apply that pain into something that helps other people. And that was a mic drop moment there, Bianca, because you just took it full circle for this mama's heart.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
How long ago were you working with kids, and what age group was that?
Yeah, so probably 2021, 2022 was, when I left community mental health. And at that time, I was primarily working with like between the ages of 6 to 17.
So the
And
reason
then,
I'm asking is
since
because
then, mhm.
I'm trying to make a correlation of what sounds like the kids that you were helping at one point in your career are now the 18 to 24-year-olds that you continue to help today.
Mm,
So I'm
I didn't even think about it that way.
so I'm trying to make that connection of like, gosh, you're actually
Yeah,
tracking a generation.
that's so interesting. That is a mind-blowing thought because I've never even thought about it. He's like, that's my mic drop moment.
What do you, because I'm sure, grief doesn't stop us from growing, and it doesn't stop us from setting goals or milestones. Is there something that you're looking forward to ahead, like maybe a goal that you've set for yourself, a 5-year or just sometime in the
That's
future?
great.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of goals that I have. I tend to focus on goals that maybe are outside of pressure that I put on myself. But I think that, you know, a goal this year that I have for myself is to be licensed. So I'm a psychologist, but I'm not licensed yet. And so
Okay.
that is a goal that I have for myself for this year. And aside from that, being the best version of myself, I think is more probably the thing that stands out the most, of just wanting to be proud of who I'm becoming. And me at 30 and now looking at who I am at 35, I am really proud of who I am today. And I just want to continue to have that trajectory of, if I got a glimpse of my life at 40, am I going to be proud of the woman I am at 40, even if life may not look the way that I even hope for at 40, but just more so, can I still be proud of who I am? And I think that that's more of a goal that I'm focused on.
That's
That's
great.
great.
Well, I can tell you, if there's any struggle of you trying to decide if you're a good person, Ruthie would not spend any time with you if you were not a good person. And I can hear just spending an hour with you today. I do hope we get to drink some whiskey together in
Absolutely.
Tennessee. Yeah.
In Nashville.
In
Of course.
And not be frightened that I'm talking to a then licensed psychiatrist.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Tim, I know that we have some things that we want to ask Bianca that we do with all of our guests. But before we do that, I thought I might just share one little last
no.
teaser to make you all want to come here to Nashville together. And so when Bianca came to Nashville to visit me, first I was thrilled. She wasn't coming because it was somebody's wedding or stopping through for a conference. She literally planned her trip just to hang out with me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I promise we won't sit around and play bingo all day. We'll do fun things and just have fun together. And we had the best time being friends, having great conversations, doing late night recording. But I think what both of us did not expect to happen was, and I think that that's that part of let it go, and if it comes back, it's yours, and if it doesn't, it never was, is that Brandon and Cole don't really talk about their sister too much at all with Carla's friends. And Bianca doesn't really talk to people about Carla outside of the friends group.
Mhm.
But what happened during this trip was so special because Bianca got a piece of Carla back through Brandon, Cole, me, Michael, and and the boys got a piece of their sister back by just being present with
Mhm.
Bianca. And I think Cole even asked you, what did he ask you, Bianca?
Oh, he's like, oh, I think I asked him, I said, do you think Carla would be out? Because we were out really late. And so we were out on Broadway. And I was like, do you think Carla would be here with us right now? Would she be out this late? And like, he just smirked and he's like, she would be. And it was just such a simple thing. But I feel like it allowed us to really be able to even have that image of like, if she were here, she would totally be here. And we would be doing this exact same thing together. Nonetheless,
And speaking of Broadway,
Mhm.
so we went out to dinner and, the old folks were going to go home and put the pajamas on and start playing a game of bingo or something. And Cole says to Bianca, hey, you want to go on Broadway? Yeah, sure. And she looked at me like, is it okay if I go out? Yes, go have fun. I don't feel like going. You too, go. I'm going to be out late. I'm going to go ahead and stay at Cole's. And, well, I picked her up the next morning in my son's clothes. Now, nothing happened. For those of you listening, don't hold your horses. But that morning, I could not have laughed any harder with her and her with me because she didn't plan on staying there, but they were out on Broadway talking all night. And I felt such joy that he was in good hands. I knew that you were safe all hours with him and you didn't have anything to worry about. But I did take a picture, and I have this mental picture and this physical picture. I should throw that out on the 216 reel. Oh, no, I have to wait till 225.
Yep.
But anyway, so thank you for bringing joy and laughter to my heart all in the same time. So,
of course. Yeah. And
Tim,
mind you, I had red cowboy, in his clothes in red cowboy boots.
And so the
Wow.
picture is from his shirt.
It's from, I said, don't get my face in it. So it's from here down.
Tim, I'll send that picture to you.
Oh my goodness.
So,
That's
yes.
great.
So I'm so sorry. I had to share it because it was truly a fun moment. And Cole and I still laugh about it. So
Sounds like a memorable trip for you.
It was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So as we end the show, a couple things that we consistently do with our guests is ask if you brought a piece of scripture or a quote or something memorable to you that you wanted to share.
Yeah. So something that has kind of always been meaningful, and I think more so in very hard seasons, has been the Serenity Prayer. So I'll go ahead and read it for those that may not be familiar.
Please do.
So the Serenity Prayer goes as this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that is something that through life has come up multiple times, or maybe when I don't have the words or I don't know exactly what I'm praying for or what I'm asking for, I think the Serenity Prayer has been able to capture what I'm seeking in those moments.
That's helpful.
Definitely have turned to that a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And what about a song? Is there a song that resonates with you, maybe around the topic today, or just something that
Mm.
your go-to song?
Yeah. So there's an artist named Olivia Dean. And if you're not familiar, you should definitely, look her up. But she very much is, I feel like she embodies this season of, even just womanhood. I think that she just does it so beautifully, and it's a great album, and there's a lot of great songs, but
Mm.
I think with where I'm at in life, like I have probably belted Olivia Dean quite a bit. So yeah, it's something that even in, quiet mornings here or I'm cleaning and I'm just blasting Olivia Dean, and it always just makes me feel good. I feel very seen, I think, when I listen to her music.
So
that's a
you're
great
at the
way to put
karaoke
it.
bar and you're looking through Olivia Dean. Which song do you choose to sing?
Ooh.
Like really, if you're belting it even when you're cleaning or in a workout.
Okay, there's a song called Baby Steps. And I
Okay.
think it may not be the most fun karaoke song, but it's
But you
a
kill
beautiful
it.
song. And I like the lyrics. Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful. I can't wait to listen to it.
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
The other thing that we always want to highlight is if you have a nonprofit or something to give the listeners to focus on or support.
So I can't think of a specific nonprofit, but something that I keep very close to my heart is just mental health awareness in general and breaking the stigma around mental health. I grew up in a family that didn't always talk so openly about mental health or even seeking mental health treatment. And I know there's probably a lot of families that have had similar experiences. And so something that I really try to just have open conversations about is surrounding mental health. And that doesn't necessarily need to mean seeking mental health treatment professionally, but even just conversations around your own mental health, letting people know, if you are struggling is just so important. And so in any way, if as long as you're able, as long as you feel comfortable and hopefully have a good group of people around you that you feel you could talk about your mental health with, super important. Because I do work so closely with those that are struggling with suicidal ideation, there's a lot of resources for that type of support. And something that I have referred a lot of students to is 988. And you could either call or text. And, working with college students, I know that they have found that to be very helpful of, just getting on their phone and being able to chat with somebody through text feels maybe a little less intimidating than calling some type of crisis line.
So
That's
what is
awesome.
that again?
It's
Yeah.
Bianca?
988.
988. Okay.
Mhm.
I've never even heard of it. So
Yeah, that's
speaking
great.
of that, and because you are just a wealth of resources and feelings and information that we all need, is that Tim and I would love to be able to, here's this persuasive me again. We'd love to have you back and be able to call on you again. And you allowed us to call on Bianca this time, but we'd
Mhm.
like to call on Dr. B in the future on something we need a little support on ourselves.
Of course. I would love that. Yeah, and I am glad that you all got to, see this side of me. And this is very outside of my comfort zone. I'm usually the one asking the reflective questions. And so, but I'm glad that you got to see a more human side of me. And I would love to be back as, more in the lens of what I do professionally.
Oh, wonderful.
Dr. B.
Dr.
Dr.
B.
B.
I love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I love you. And
I love you.
I look forward to giving you a hug in person soon, hopefully.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. It was so nice meeting you, Tim.
Hey, likewise. I really appreciate you coming on here, getting to meet you and capture a little part of my niece and who she got to spend her time with. And I'm also very appreciative that you got to spend time with Cole and Brandon, and it was intentional. So that means a lot. Okay, we're gonna drink whiskey soon.
Yes.
Okay.
You were right, Ruthie. What a grounded person she is. Man, that was really great to talk to her. She is an emotionally intelligent person.
You said that when you said that, I remember thinking, you're right, she truly is. And all these years knowing her, she is emotionally intelligent, and I love it. She's so grounded, and I am so lucky to call her my friend. And can you see why Carla chose her as a friend too?
Totally. I mean, it's been 20 years, so she's probably a little bit different than she was when she was 16.
A lot different, and every year gets better and better. So, Tim, she had so many great things to say. She talked to us and was very vulnerable as Bianca.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine when we bring her back as Dr. B.
Dr. B. Yeah.
Yes. And I've seen her in action with Let It Be. She was involved in our programs, in our Let It Be Love program with our siblings. And so I can't wait to have her back as Dr. B. But what was the biggest takeaway that you walked away with?
I think just the message of you don't have to figure it out alone, right?
Mhm.
I mean, so many people think they're being strong or they want to shield others from, the pain that maybe they're going through. But don't silo yourself. You don't
Yeah.
have to go through this alone.
Yeah.
What about you? What did you take from it?
Well, I know that Mari D talked about it in Unexpected, What to Expect on the Unexpected episode, but joy and grief can coexist. It was a reminder to me that 20 years later, I will always have grief, but I can have joy at the exact same time. And it was just such a beautiful reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one other thing that I really took from it that I think is awesome, that I think all of us can relate to, is identity goes deeper than roles, right? Like
Yes.
circumstances where, when you were young, you probably thought your life going to go a certain direction. And then something happened and it changed your trajectory, and something happened and it just keeps happening to us. So I really like that.
Oh, yeah. It was just so much to take away. And speaking of takeaway, so Tim, before we close, you always have something great for us to reflect on. So what is it that you want us to sit with?
Who are you when you stop rushing to become who you thought you'd be? If every role were stripped away, no titles, no timelines, no expectations, who are you at your core? And can you honor that?
Goodbye, friends.
Thanks, everyone. We're so glad you're here. Did today's episode give you a little boost of hope and encouragement right when you needed it? If it did, we'd love it if you'd hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe even share it with someone who could use a little light today. For extra content and more from this podcast, make sure to follow us at Instagram at letitbe.podcast. And remember, there's still beauty unfolding in your story.